Alright, let's work on getting this gearbox mounted in the frame. I'm going to mount it as far back into the frame as possible just to make sure there's room for everything. And we also need to make sure that this is directly in the middle of the frame, so therefore we can make sure that the CV axles are equal length. Yeah, so it's pretty much right there. Alright, before I tack this gearbox in place, I first want to make sure it's going to work right there. So the rear tires are going to be pretty much right here. And already I am seeing an issue with this. Basically, the output for this gearbox is right here, and the hubs are way over here. That is a pretty big difference. I mean, I'm not going to say that this wouldn't work, but the CV axles would basically be doing this, which is definitely not good. Let me see. I can probably move these rear tires a little bit further back. I may want to, mount them as far back as possible. I mean, that is better, but it's still... I mean, that's off by a lot. Let me see if I can move this gearbox a little bit further forward. I'll put the seat in place, figure out where that's going to go, and figure out if I can scoot this forward. Alright, so this is roughly where the seat needs to go, which means that, yeah, I do have plenty of space between this and the seat, which means I can move this gearbox further forward, which is definitely good. So let's scoot this thing forward. I'll figure out exactly where this needs to be, and then I'll tack it in place. So, I've been staring at this for a very, very long time, trying to figure out how to get this setup to work. I'm kind of slowly realizing this is going to be a bit of a challenge to get everything to fit in here, especially with where I want these tires. So this is kind of where I want the tires. This makes it to where the fiberglass body is going to be ending with the wheel wells will be right about here. Because I don't want these tires sticking out too much, because I think they'll look better with, giant wheel wells cutting out, with the tires sticking out a little bit. So I don't want the tires sticking out too much. So this is a general spot where I want the tires, but the issue that we're having is the XLT 600 snowmobile engine that I kind of want to use for this project physically will not fit between these tires, especially because the secondary pulley for the CVT is right there. So basically, we have three options to get this set up to work. We can either just widen the tires by 5 or 6 inches total width and just make it a lot wider to get the engine to fit, or we could use a different engine. I was back, thinking about, should I just use a Predator 670 engine? But then it's like, for this project, I kind of don't want to. As nice as it would be to have an air-cooled engine that has electric start, they're just not very interesting engines. They're kind of boring in my opinion, and they're huge, they're heavy, and they don't make that much power. They do make a decent amount of torque, but they're not very fast engines. I could get a 2-cylinder snowmobile engine. I was looking at Facebook Marketplace earlier today. I did find one, but honestly, this snowmobile was in way too nice a condition. It was like almost 30 years old. It had like only 400 miles on it, and apparently it was like garage kept for, you know, most of its life, and it was like almost in brand new condition for how old that thing was. And it's like, there's no way I'm buying that and stripping it for parts. It was in way too nice a condition to do that. So I couldn't really find any other snowmobile engines that were 2-cylinder that were a better choice. So option 3 is simply we just widen this by a little bit, an inch on either side, and figure out a way to move the secondary pulley out by 4 inches. Now, I do have a way or an idea on how we can possibly do that, and it involves this. This, I took off another one of these. I have another one of these. I took it apart and I removed this. This is the center core with the internal splines of the input of this gearbox. And if I can modify this and basically cut it right here and then machine new external splines to where this slides onto the input and the secondary pulley slides onto this. We will have to put a bearing on it because it'll be sticking out so much, but I think that'll work. And honestly, I think that is the best option because it'll make it to where we can still use the XLT 600, we can make this setup work, and we can have it to where these tires aren't sticking out way past the fiberglass body. So yeah, I think that's the best option for this setup. Now that we know that, now we kind of have a general idea on how this setup's going to work. Let's start working on the rear suspension and getting that mocked up. Alright, like I said before, my original idea for the rear suspension was going to be A-arm rear suspension. I thought that was going to be the easiest way to do this, but I'm slowly realizing that that's not really going to work that well, simply because if we did that, the shocks would have to go here. Well, guess what? That's where the engine has to go. I can't really move the shocks down because that's where the carburetors have to go. I can't move the shocks all the way down here because that the bottom A-arm would be just way too big and not really work that well. So now I'm almost thinking, instead of A-arms, what if I did trailing arms with radius rods? Basically just have one heim joint right here connecting to tubing that gets bolted onto the hub, and then have radius rods connecting from here up to here. I think that will be the easiest way to get this setup to work. That way, I can mount the shock over here, out of the way of the engine, and I have way more adjustability with where exactly to put the shocks to adjust how much suspension travel we have, and I can mount the top of the shocks to the tubing right here. So yeah, I think this is the best way to do it. And also, we're not using these shocks, I'm just using this one for mock-up. I bought some much better shocks on eBay. We're just waiting for them to get here. Alright, so I machined these threaded inserts that fit into the tubing right here, so therefore we can mount the heim joints right here for the trailing arms. For the radius rod, I'm pretty sure these are called radius rods. Now for the heim joints on this side, the one on the top is going to be easy, just has to go right there. The one on the bottom, I thought this mount was going to be in the way, and I thought I would have to like cut it shorter or something, but actually, if I mount it right here, then I just need to shave off just a little bit right there. And then I think there's enough room to mount this heim joint right about there. Alright, so this is high range. This should be low range. There it goes. Yep. That's low range. This should be neutral. This should be reverse. And also, this gearbox has a really cool feature where it has park. Basically, you bring it all the way down, and the tires cannot spin at all, but this acts as a neutral, so that'll be a really cool feature to have. So, reverse, and back to neutral. Alright, so the rear suspension is pretty much finished, except for we need to install the shocks. We'll do that in the next video. Now, I know I talked a lot about trying to make it to where the tires are mostly in the wheel wells. I keep saying that I don't want these tires sticking out past the fiberglass body and everything, because in my mind, a lifted muscle car, the tires aren't sticking out super wide. I didn't want that with this, but after placing the tires kind of where I wanted them, I measured the length of the CV axles and realized that if I wanted to keep the tires where I wanted them, I would have had to shorten the CV axles by about 1 inch. Now, once I realized that, I was kind of just like, okay, screw it. Let's let the CV axles determine how wide this thing is, because I'm kind of a little tired of having to weld CV axles together. So for this project, I just kind of wherever the CV axle keeps the tire, and that's how wide this thing's going to be. Now, I kind of made it to where I think the fiberglass is going to be right about here. I kind of wanted the fiberglass here, but if I want to, I could always add fender flares to, I don't know, to kind of help the look on this thing. Now, I would like to see what this thing looks like with the fiberglass body installed, but to do that, we would have to cut out the wheel wells for the tires and everything. And to do that, we kind of need to figure out the ride height first. So we'll kind of just wait to do that in the next couple of videos of this project. Now, I actually posted on Instagram a couple days ago a teaser of this fiberglass body next to the Mini Baja Bug project, and I said, like, oh, I'm thinking about a new project. What do y'all think of what engine I should use? And a lot of you guys had some good suggestions on engines. Some of the suggestions were engines that wouldn't even fit in this project or would not work at all. And that kind of made me realize maybe I should be trying to find a better engine for this project, because I know I keep saying that I'm possibly considering using the XLT 600, but I don't know. I'm not really 100% sold on that thing, simply because I've been kind of having some really big challenges with that engine on the Mini Baja Bug project. But this other engine I have is the older model. It's the easier carburetors. It may be easier to tune, and it actually ran pretty well when it was on the two-stroke triple yard car project. So I'm going to leave that engine as a backup, but I will start looking into a different engine for this project. And I kind of like the idea of a 4-stroke engine, because in my mind, a lifted muscle car wouldn't really work that well with the sound of a 2-stroke engine. You would think muscle car, you think of a big V8 with V8 noise. So I kind of am liking the idea of possibly trying to see if I can get a 4-stroke engine for this project, one that sounds nice and a nice 4-stroke. I'm not saying 2-strokes don't sound good, but in my opinion, 4-strokes just sound a little bit better. When you think of a muscle car, you do not think of a 2-stroke engine, so it would be kind of nice to find something that has a 2-cylinder, something that's V-twin, but I don't know if I can find a V-twin that has a CVT, unless I use the Predator 670 engine, but I don't know. I could use that engine. I do have like 2 or 3 of those that have been sitting around, but I don't know. What do y'all think? The downside to my upload schedule is by the time you guys see this, I will have, started part 4 of this project, or possibly even part 5, depending on when I upload this. So, and by then I will have already chosen an engine. Now, something that you guys were commenting on the Instagram post was some of you guys were saying that asking me to do a project that isn't chain drive. Well, guess what? This isn't chain. I don't know what it is. Ever since I built the mini trophy truck project, a lot of you guys have been really negative towards chain drive, and well, guess what? This project isn't chain drive. It's CV axles, drive shafts, and CVT belt drive. So it doesn't have any chain. So hopefully you guys are appreciating that I am finally building something that doesn't have chain drive. But anyway, next video of this project, we could start working on the front suspension, getting all that stuff installed. We got to figure out the ride height, got to get the shocks installed and everything, and then we can figure out how much to cut away for the fiberglass body, so if we can get the fiberglass body to fit back on here and all that kind of stuff. But I guess for now, I gotta end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video.